You've made it to cycle 1. For this cycle, we are going to be starting on chapter 12 of our book. So that means that you need to pull out the book that is attached to the assignment. You will also need something to take notes with. We will be taking notes during this section. Pause the video and go find those things now. When you're ready, we are going to be starting on page 85 of the document, otherwise page 79 of the book. You can see that at the bottom here. Chapter 12, please follow along with me. Killer Kane had a kid who got no brain. I feel really bad for Freak because he hates it when people try to rub his head for luck. But I don't say a word, I just run us home, thumping the short way back around the pond. And my big feet never even trip me up because I'm on automatic. I'm this running machine. Whoa, Freak says when we get to his house. Now that was an adventure, huh? An evil dude like Iggy Lee. We were lucky to get out of there alive. Freak goes, no way, that was all talk. Yeah, right. The real deal is that I was scared the whole time I was there, and so was Freak, even if he won't admit it now. That stuff about my father was true, Freak says, studying his fingernails and acting real cool again. We are now on page 80. The fair Gwen won't talk about it. All she says is he made this his decision and I made mine. But I know he ran away because of me. And you know what? What? Good riddance to bad rubbish. I want to pause there. Let's try to understand that line. Good riddance to bad rubbish. The word riddance means the action of getting rid of something troubled or unwanted. So good riddance, getting rid of something troubled and unwanted. Rubbish is another word for trash. The phrase good riddance means a welcome loss or departure, so it's good that he left. It may have originally been coined by Shakespeare. Bad rubbish became part of this common expression in the late 18th century. As a whole, the phrase is commonly said to express pleasure that something bad or unwanted is gone. So it's good that he left. He was bad trash. Let's continue. For some reason, that really gets me laughing. Something about the way he says it, or maybe it's all that nervous stuff left over from the New Testaments. Whatever, I'm rolling on the ground like a moron, and Freak is strutting around and saying stuff like, Loretta, my queen, wouldst thou accept my hand in marriage? I want to pause here. They used a vocab word of ours. They used the word strutting, and we know that strutting means like they're walking with confidence, like I'm on top of the world, like it's that confident walk. All right, continuing. And Sir Iggy, wouldn't thou do us all a big favor and fall upon thy sword? And I'm laughing so hard I can hardly breathe. Everything is pretty much okay after that. One thing we don't do, though, we don't talk about my father, good old Killer Kane, which is fine by me. School. For the last week or so, it's like getting jabbed with a little needle every time I hear the word. Graham is trying to pretend how excited she is. I'm finally in the 8th grade. Like, this is a really big deal. Oh, which is a joke. Because the only reason I got passed from 7th grade is because they figured this way the big butthead can be, quote, someone else's problem. Thank God we've had quite enough of Maxwell Kane, unquote. I want to pause here because as we go into this whole school section, um, we get to see a lot about Max's self-image coming out. So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to pull out your notes, and I'm going to model for you what I'd like you to be drawing into your notes. So in your notebook, I want you to draw a chart like this. So it has 6 squares. Then we're going to start to add our quotes. And if you remember back in class when we were preparing for Forward Friday, we know how to quote things. We know that we can just start with the beginning of the line and go dot, 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 and we know where to find it. So I'm going to say for this first one, and I want you to be doing this in your notes too, I want you to say, is a joke, dot, 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 page 6 or page 81. So it should look like that. Is a joke, ... Page 81. And then we're going to make our notes. We're going to do this first one together. That means you cannot use it as your answer. But what do we notice about Max's self-image and how he sees himself? Let's reread this quote that we just read again. It says, which is a joke because the only reason I got passed from 7th grade is because they figured this way, the big butthead can be, quote, someone else's problem. Thank God we've had quite enough of Maxwell Cain, unquote. So we know, let's look at the different things. How does he see himself? What is his self-image? We see here that he said big butthead. He sees himself as a big butthead. So I'm going to write that in the box next to is a joke, and I'm going to say he thinks he's a butthead. He thinks he's a butthead. And I want you doing this along with me. And then we can think about that self-worth, that value that you put on yourself. How much does he value, or his self-esteem, that's the word. Does he have a whole lot of value on himself here? If you think you're a butthead, do you have a whole lot of self-esteem? Do you think you're pretty great? No. So I'm going to say low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. And now what we're going to do is we're going to also fill that out for the next two boxes. So we can go in and we can start that quote for the next one. Do Graham takes ... page 81. Graham takes ... page 81. And we're going to keep reading, and when we get to those paragraphs, we're going to pause, and you're going to put in your notes what you think Max thinks about himself. What is his self-image? How is his self-esteem doing? All right, let's open back up to our book. All right, we're starting with Graham takes. We know that this is our next one. Graham takes me out to the mall to get new clothes, which is about as much fun as going to the dentist. Except maybe worse, because at least at the dentist, you're mostly just in a chair with the door closed. Where at the mall with Graham, it's like, hello world, here I am. Take a good look. He's using a bit of sarcasm here. So now I'd like you to pause the video and answer what you think Max thinks about himself from this paragraph. Go. Now that you have the second one done, let's keep reading. This girl at the shoe store, she's got a little smirk, and she goes, 13 triple E? Do they make shoes that big? And Graham goes, I'm quite sure they do, dear. You go ask the manager. And then she looks at me and she goes, Maxwell, this is not major surgery. Will you please, as a special favor to me, wipe that wounded look off your face and try to be polite? Yeah, right. The manager, when he comes out with these brand X running shoes, he wants to help me take off my old shoes. Like he's pretty sure I can't do it by myself. But I give him this look and he backs off and lets me do it myself. So we're going to pause there because that was our last one, starting with yeah, right. So your sheets would say yeah, right, ... page 81. And then you're going to tell me what you think Max thought about his self-esteem here or his self-worth. I want you to try to use evidence from this paragraph. All right. When you're done, we are going to move on. Pause the video if you need more time. I wish you'd tie those laces, dear, Graham says when I'm squishing around in the new shoes. That's the fashion, the manager says with his heh 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 laugh. Actually, they're designed that way. You don't need to lace up. Just to prove what a jerk he is, I tie up the laces and that makes Graham happy. Which is funny, sometimes how little it takes to make her happy, except you can't really figure out what until you've already done it. Does that make any sense? Finally, we escape from the mall, and I've got enough new clothes to last me, as Graham points out. a week or so. You could just keep letting down the cuffs. Oh, you could just keep letting down his cuffs, Grim says. Except they don't have cuffs now. What am I thinking? I think he looks quite handsome, Graham says. Maxwell, please turn around and keep your shirt tail tucked in. I'll leave him alone, Grim says. He's not a fashion model. I just can't get over it, Graham says. Our little Maxwell is growing up. Growing is right, Grim says. The boy is certainly growing. The deal is, Freak and I get to be in the same classes. He made the fair Gwen go in and see all these people at the school because I wasn't supposed to be in the smart classes. No way. And finally, they all agreed it would be good for Freak having someone to help him get around. Graham acts kind of worried about it, and she doesn't want to sign the papers. Like she thinks the LD class has done me a lot of good or something. And being in a genius class is going to make me slower and dumber than ever. But one night I come up the cellar stairs real quiet, and Grim is saying, "Let's give it a try. Nothing else has worked. Maybe what he needs is a friend. That's the one thing he's never had with all those special teachers." And the next morning she signs the papers, and when we get to school the first day, Freak helps me find my name on the list, and it's true. We're in all the same classes. We're going to pause there, and what I'd like you to do is on your notes, um, try to input one of your notes from either the second box or the third box and put it on the blank. Tell me what you thought about either quote 2 or 3. Tell me which one you're talking about. When you're done, move on to the next cycle.